Welcome to the second episode of Around the Shoe. We didn't get canceled after the first one, and sometimes you never know when you might get canceled, so we're excited to be here. Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis of the Bill and Doug Show. Two new special guests this week as we bring in two of the great Ohio State beat writers. This is a robust, competitive, awesome beat, and we just want to hear different voices. This week, Dan Hope of 11 Warriors, Cameron Teague Robinson of The Athletic. We have 5 topics. We're going to run through them quick about what's going on with Ohio State football. But first off, Dan Hope, thank you for being here. How many years have you been covering the Buckeyes?
Yeah, so this is my 9th season at 11 Warriors covering Ohio State. I mean, I had some time as a student covering the Buckeyes as well, but then came back to the Ohio State beat in 2017 with 11 Warriors, and I've been there ever since.
Bill, we were talking before the show started. We remember when Dan was covering Clemson for the 2016 Ohio State Clemson semifinal, and it turned out that 31-0 loss was very difficult for Ohio State fans, but it also created a new era in Ohio State football, did it not?
Yeah, I remember you and I and Ari Wasserman at the time did a video about whether or not Ohio State should hire Chip Kelly to be its offensive coordinator after that game. We should have done a video about whether or not 11 Warriors should have hired Dan Hope, because we would have been prophetic in our coverage. Yeah,
and by the way, I am so excited for when Dan Hope gets to his 11th year at 11 Warriors. I don't know if the universe will fold in on itself or what, but Dan, we're happy to have you on the beat. We're happy to have you here. Cameron Teague Robinson of The Athletic, how many years covering the Buckeyes for you?
Yeah. This will be my 4th season. I joined in, I think it was the 2022 season. I joined the second game of the year, so I didn't cover the Notre Dame game at home, but I covered the rest of that season after that.
And I will say at some of my previous stops, I may or may not have had conversations with people about when you worked somewhere else previously, saying, you know what, I think maybe we should hire this guy. And then I think we were just like starting to have conversations like, yeah, maybe we should hire this guy. And then he went to The Athletic, and I was like, great.
I appreciate that, Doug. I appreciate it for sure.
We could just speak the truth here. Cam was like, I'm not working with that guy. I'm not going to Google.com to work with him.
No, honestly, it was pretty close before I got joined The Athletic, man. It was.
Alternate universes. Well, we're glad how it worked out for everybody. 5 topics here. The first one off the top is like a hot running back topic, because we like hot topics here around the shoe. What will the Ohio State running back rotation look like by the Michigan game? Who's RB1? Is it a rotation? If it is a rotation, how many guys are in it? Dan Hope, crystal ball, who's carrying the ball against the Wolverines?
Yeah, great question to start us off here. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a 3-man rotation. I feel like based on what we saw with Bo Jackson against Grambling, the momentum that's behind him, I feel like he's going to force his way into this running back rotation. Now, I don't think Ohio State is going to completely go away from either of C.J. Donaldson or James Peoples. I think those guys are going to be in the plan all year long. But I think based on what we've seen from Bo Jackson so far, I think he's got a chance to really force his way into this rotation. I think he's got a different level of explosiveness than those two guys have. And I think it's still to be determined, because we haven't really seen a Carlos Loughlin running back rotation that's more than 2 guys. But I also don't think that the guys they have leading that rotation right now are Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins. So I think that leaves the door open for another running back to force his way in there. And it feels like Bo Jackson's on his way to doing that.
Cam, you got similar thoughts on Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I was really impressed by Bo against Grambling State. I think, like Dan said, I think he's more explosive than both CJ and James. But I think he also, for someone that young, he just seems like he sees holes and moves well through the hole really well. I mean, I know it was Grambling State, and speed of things will pick up even with Ohio University this weekend. But for him to just see things as clearly as he does so well, or at least that's what it looks like on film. Like I'm really impressed with him. I think you'll probably see a 3-man rotation. I'm very interested to see how many carries Bo gets against Ohio this weekend. I'd love to see him, especially if Ohio State can put it away by like the third quarter, let him get majority of the second half snaps just to see what he can do.
I know that Landis, you told me this off the air. You just said, I think Bo Jackson's overrated. So, I mean, I can't believe that you said it. I mean, everybody else seems excited, but how do you think this is going to go?
Yeah, that's the thing I definitely said to you. No, I think at some point on the round of shoe, I think we'll have some disagreement, but not on this point. I'm with the other guys. I do think it'll be a three-man rotation. Although I would guess of that three-man rotation, I think Bo Jackson will be the guy getting the ball the most by the time the Michigan game comes around, just because he does have that other gear. This is something, or would be something, that we really haven't seen before. I was looking back through to see, and I didn't go back that far, but like in 2022, I think there were 3 running backs that ended up with 100 carries, but Travion Henderson wasn't healthy for that year. So like Dallin Hayden had to pick up some of that slack. So Hayden, Travion, and Maya Williams all ended up with 100 carries. That's not exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about a true 3-man shared workload, which certainly hasn't happened in my time on the beat. I wouldn't know the last time that happened at Ohio State. Probably have to go back a little bit, but I'm reminded of Georgia in the 2022 season. They had like a 3-man running back thing that was fairly balanced with Kenny McIntosh, Dejan Edwards, and Kendall Milton. The top 2 guys had like 150 carries, but then Milton had like 85, and I think Milton was not entirely healthy that year either. But it's been done before. I think it can be done at a place like Ohio State. It'll be something new to manage, I'm sure, for Carlos Lachlan and for all 3 guys involved. But for the good of the offense, it almost feels necessary, because Jackson, I do think, just brings a more of an explosive element to the position than the other guys do, who aren't, I don't think they're going anywhere. They have strengths as well, but I don't know that their strengths are quite the same as Bo's. And as long as he continues to get more work, I think he's going to earn more and more playing time.
I'm going Sonny Styles, because remember in 2022 when in the Michigan game, Ohio State's leading rusher was a linebacker, because it was Chip Trayanum, because the whole running back room exploded. So it is just a reminder that sometimes things go crazy. The guy that I actually have been thinking about a little bit with Bo Jackson is a man that we call Beanie. And I am old enough, you guys are not. When Chris Beanie Wells arrived on the scene at Ohio State, first of all, it took us half a season to understand that he really wanted to be called Beanie. I would say the number one thing, like in that season, is like, is Troy Smith going to win the Heisman in 2006? Is Ohio State going to go wire to wire is number one? And the other thing is, what do we call this guy? Really, it's Beanie. And we like mainstream newspapers back then, it was like, you can't call a guy Beanie in a headline. It's like, that's what he wants to be called. So Chris Wells in 2006 was a top 10 national recruit. Just like Bo Jackson, he was from Northeast Ohio. But like, we have to, I do think, remind ourselves, sometimes you don't have to play a guy regularly for him to make an impact. And again, if there's anybody watching or listening to this who has not watched this, go back and watch the Chris Wells 52-yard touchdown run from the 2006 Ohio State-Michigan game. Spin move in the backfield, hit the hole, gone, 52-yard touchdown run when that game is tied at 7 in the second quarter. And he had 4 other yards the rest of the game. He was definitely number 2 to Antonio Pittman that year. You could see the talent coming. So I am very interested. I agree with all of you guys completely. But like, Dan, I'm just wondering if still maybe is Bo Jackson more like a secret weapon that you occasionally unleash to destroy people, but he's not maybe as in the rotation. You know what I mean? Or in this day and age, if you got a freshman and he can do it, you got to play him.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it going either way there. Like, I do think that for right now, that's what it's more likely to be, a more likely kind of an occasional guy that provides a spark. You know, if it gets to a point where, you know, he's in there and he's the best running back, then I think you could see that shift. But I would agree. I think initially it's still probably more likely to be CJ and James getting most of a workload, with Bo maybe kind of gradually ramping up as the season progresses.
So I don't really want to pull the reins back here, because like, we're having a good time and we're just having quick hit conversations. But also, Cam, the idea that like Bo Jackson gets 19 carries against Michigan because he's the number 1 back. Do you think that is on the table? Also, that maybe you could play it safe, but also you could be like, this guy's the dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's the dude, you got to give him the ball. Okay. I do still like what CJ Donaldson gives him in turn. I think he's always going to be the red zone guy, because he just has that kind of strength and power in there. And I think he gives him a nice change of pace. And I think Ryan loves the experience that CJ brings. But I think if Bo continues to do what he's doing, like, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. And it's going to be, for me, like, I think right now, yeah, he's probably RB3. But I think even by Penn State, if he continues to do this, like, it's going to be hard for me to think like you can't give him at least RB2 carries.
Okay. All right. Second topic, scale of 1 to 10. 10 is good. 1 is not so good. Thinking about the future of the Ohio State defense and basing this a lot on the guys who flashed on Saturday against Grambling State. What do you feel about Ohio State's defense down the road, whether that means in November of this year, whether that means in 2026, 2027. 1 is low, 10 is great. Cam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably go an 8. I mean, I love Riley Pettijohn, as I assume many people do after that game, and I think he's a future star. Probably as early as next year. I think he's going to be really good. I really like the secondary. I thought Fahim Delane played well in the snaps he got. I've liked Aaron Scott for a while. Obviously, Devin Sanchez is there. But in terms of like the future, I think those guys have a very, very bright future. I still just don't know what they have up front on D line. I thought Zion Grady has a bright future. I thought he did a nice job on that sack, but it's just a little bit unknown there. But I think the back end is just, I think they're really, really good, really, really deep even for this year. I think they have a lot of guys they could play right now if they wanted to.
I would say I'm probably like a 7 because there are some defensive line concerns. I think a little bit. But what I do like, and Cam kind of touched on this, is that you can point to every level of the defense and find a young guy or two to be pretty excited about, right? Like Jarquez Carter at tackle, Grady at defensive end. I even really liked, he played against Grambling. I don't know how much he flashed, but like Epi Satanale in camp, I thought looked really good, right? So there are guys to get excited about there. Like linebacker Riley Pettijohn, Peyton Pierce is in good hands because I don't think Arvell Reese is going to be here next year. And I think the secondary is going to be excellent because you have these young guys who are sort of waiting their turn, but then you also have Jalen McLean, who has to come back for at least one more year as well. So it's not to say, like, I think Ohio State has the best secondary in college football right now. I wouldn't say that about next year's team because they're going to be so young and so inexperienced. But from a talent standpoint, I think the potential is nearly as high, right? You don't have a Caleb Downs you can point to necessarily, but McLean is super smart, and Fahim Delane plays like a missile, kind of like Lathan Ransom played. So there's a lot there. And I think that, early on in Ryan Day's tenure, some of the defensive recruiting, I think, left a lot to be desired. And it started to turn a little bit with that 2022 class that is now seniors. And I think has been fairly consistent with the exception of like an occasional defensive line miss here or there. So they're set up pretty well, but because of the defensive line question, I would still put myself at a 7.
I think I'm at an 8 also. I did want to note this. I haven't said this yet, and I meant to say it the other day. I like certain types of mistakes because I'm bad at analyzing football. But Bill, Edric Houston, and we can still count Edric Houston as a young guy, right? He's a second-year guy.
He's a sophomore.
We can call him young, right? He jumped offside twice against Grambling State. And it's like, I like defensive linemen who jump offside because it means they're trying to like anticipate the snap count and like be quick. Like I have a quick get off. Like I think Myles Garrett for the Browns, a lot of times he'll have like one a game and it's like, it's worth it. So can I just give a shout out for jumping? I get right. I mean, this is the kind of thing that also a coach could show. Can you imagine coaches sitting around? Like Ryan Day's like, hey guys, we got to interrupt the meeting around the shoe just to hit YouTube. Everybody get your popcorn. It's like, here's Doug. Here comes the part where Doug likes penalties. So I was excited about Edric Houston, but other than that, it is a little odd. It's felt like for a long time when you thought about these questions, like defense, especially of the future, you always went defensive line first. Like that's where your head went. It's like, oh man. It's like when they had Chase Young as a true freshman and he was the 5th defensive end. And it was like, wait till they do this. And it's very much like a back 7 conversation now. And it doesn't mean that the front 4 is not going to be good, but both you guys, I think, correctly started with the back 7. It's a little bit hard to wrap your head around. So I'm curious about that, but I think I'm still an 8. Dan, where are you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 7.5, and it's really for the same reasons that Cam and Bill already illustrated. I think the thing that keeps me from going higher is the defensive line. Some of the recruiting misses that there's been there for the last few years. There's some promising guys, guys like Zion Grady, you already mentioned, Edric Houston's only a sophomore, but I still look at it and say, they're probably going to need to go to the transfer portal a few times over the next couple of years to build that position back up. Because I just don't know that there's quite enough guys there to feel really good about the depth that they're going to have, the top level talent they're going to have on that defensive front over the next couple of years. So that's why I go 7.5, just not quite a full 8 because of some of those defensive line questions.
Landis, I like it when people come on around the shoe and they just feel comfortable. And Hope's like, I'm going decimal. I don't care. Did we say you could do decimals, Dan? Dan's like, I've been at 11 Warriors for 9 years. If I want to go decimal, I'm going decimal. So we're all in the same range here. And I think we're very curious about what the future of that defensive line thinks. Question number 3. By the way, Landis, do you agree with this? It looks like you are holding the three of us hostage, and you are making us like grind film in your basement. You have your beautiful backdrop, your beautiful setup, and this is the beige patrol. And it's like, if I go down the steps in Landis's house, what am I going to find? And it's going to be the three of us in individual rooms breaking down tape of the third string offensive line from the Grambling State game on your behalf.
I'm not allowed out until I finish the snap counts.
That's right. I need the snap counts. I need film. I love a taupe basement. So, yeah. You guys got to get some decorations in your background. That's not my fault.
I know. True or false, Dan Hope, once upon a time, before PFF was as prevalent as it is now, and you were doing the snap counts for 11 Warriors, and I would wait for your snap counts to come out and then cite them, did I give you $5?
You did.
Dan's like, thanks. I was up until 4:30 in the morning finishing this. I'll go get a double hamburger at McDonald's now, Doug. Wow. Awesome. And I was like, I got a solid 10 hours sleep. Thanks, Dan, for doing that for me. Landis, should Ohio State play another team from Ohio every year? The Ohio Bobcats are on the schedule coming to the shoe on Saturday.
Yes, I feel strongly about this. I think Ohio State should play a team from Ohio every year. I think I've talked about this before, but I've not talked about it yet on this channel. I want there to be a weekend in every college football season where Ohio teams only play Ohio teams. And it would involve getting the MAC involved and like reconfiguring their regular season schedule, because obviously a large chunk of that would involve all the Ohio MAC teams. But then you get Ohio State and Cincinnati in the mix. I think you could get Youngstown State in the mix. Maybe somebody could play Dayton if you wanted to. That doesn't really happen all that often. But with all the Division I, FBS, and FCS teams in the state, I think it would be doable. I think you could have a celebration of Ohio football one weekend in September every year. If you even wanted to take it a step further, you can get the NFL involved. We just saw the season start with the Browns and the Bengals playing each other. Why not have the Browns and the Bengals play each other and all the Ohio college teams play each other, a bunch of high school bangers, and celebrate the sport that Ohio loves the most on one weekend every fall?
Yeah, that idea stinks. That's stupid. I can't believe you suggested that.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact that it would be the greatest thing to ever happen in the history of Ohio football. Can you imagine if you did, even at the shoe, like Friday night or Friday, you did a couple high school games, right? Saturday, you did Ohio State versus somebody. You could even do a doubleheader. What if you played like Dayton, Youngstown State at noon, and you played Ohio State versus, one of the MAC teams at night? And then you follow that up with, it's always either Browns at Bengals or Bengals at Browns. Like, there's a real opportunity here, because I do think, Bill, do you think that the state of Ohio can celebrate its football heritage and how important this sport is to the state even more than it does?
Yeah, and it's not to say that it doesn't, but we all know how important. Like, I'm not from Ohio, but I know how important it is to this state. I've been fortunate enough to cover the sport in this state for more than a decade, both at the high school and college level. So I've seen the passion, but I do think there are more ways to celebrate that. Yes.
So Ohio State has played a team from Ohio, throwing out the COVID year, every year since 19. And they also have Kent State on the schedule in 26, Bowling Green on the schedule in 27. They don't have an Ohio team on the schedule in 28. They didn't play an Ohio team in 13, 15, 17, or 18. And I would just like to note 13, no Ohio team on the schedule. They played Buffalo, San Diego State, Cal, and Florida A&M. They lost in the Big Ten championship game and had a very disappointing season. And Urban Meyer ate a sad slice of pizza. 15, they're defending national champs. They don't play an Ohio team. They lose the game against Michigan State. Doesn't go so well. 17 and 18, they're right there on the edge of the playoff. They lose games in the regular season. They can't lose. They don't play Ohio teams. They don't make the playoff. Am I saying that Ohio State is cursed every season that it doesn't play an Ohio team? Yes. Yes, I am. Play Ohio teams. Dan Hope, what do you think?
Yeah, I love Bill's idea and, fully agree, but I think Ohio State should be playing Ohio teams every year. I mean, we know the way college football games are scheduled is going to continue to change as things continue to evolve with the CFP format and all of that. But if you go under the current structure with, Ohio State always wants 7 home games every year, that means 2 of those games every year are going to be against non-power 4 teams, most likely. One of those games, at least one of those games, should be against a team from Ohio. Because, I mean, you think about the way those rosters are constructed for, all those other Ohio teams. Most of them are mostly Ohio kids. Most of them grew up Ohio State fans dreaming of playing in the shoes. So I think giving those teams that opportunity, and like Bill said, it helps celebrate the state. I mean, you have a game like this past weekend, like, yeah, the Grambling band was cool and all that, but you're kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we really playing this game? I think when they play an Ohio team, even if Ohio State wins big, you feel like there's a purpose behind it because of the fact that they're all universities in the same state.
What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it just means a little more. I mean, you're going to get, the amount of Ohio University fans are going to be down here in Columbus for what's probably one of the bigger games that they're going to have on their schedule, especially after just beating West Virginia. It's crazy. And my brother is a huge Ohio State fan. He played football at Kent State, and I can't get him to shut up about the one time he played in the shoe. Like, he just loves it. And I think it's just a passion and a pride that these kids have. Even when you're at another college, just the chance you have to play in the shoe is just something you remember forever. While surely the kids playing on Grambling State team are going to remember that, but players at Ohio University or in random schools in the MAC or just all over Ohio are going to embrace and remember playing at Ohio State more than they would anywhere else. So I agree. I think they should play every year. I think it should be maybe even like the same week every year. That has to be a staple for Ohio State.
And Cam just said it, Landis. I think he suggested a slogan for your Ohio Football Festival weekend. You ready for this?
Yeah,
it just means more. It just means more.
It does.
I think that's
original.
Available.
Yeah.
No one has that right now, so you might as well trademark it.
Yeah. You guys are going to make me get my sword out. All right. Question number 4. You're an NFL team that can take one current Ohio State receiver in the NFL, right? It's like you're just having a draft of former Ohio State receivers in the NFL. Who do you take? And if you could take Jeremiah Smith instead, would you take him? So week 1 NFL stats for former Ohio State Buckeye receivers in the NFL. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 9 receptions, 124 yards. Garrett Wilson, 7 for 95 and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Emeka Egbuka, 4 for 67 and 2 touchdowns for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, including the game winner. Chris Olave, 7 for 54. Terry McLaurin, 2 for 27. Did I bet Jackson Smith-Njigba to lead the NFL in receiving yards this year at 33-1? Yeah, I put $2 on that, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. I just still really like what Garrett Wilson could maybe be in the NFL, and I think you got the Justin Fields thing. Justin Fields played pretty well, even in defeat on Sunday. I still think Garrett Wilson has a tremendous upside, and he's a little bit down the road ahead of Jeremiah. I would take Garrett Wilson right now, but it's a tough question. Dan, who would you take?
Yeah, it's such a good question. There's so many good answers. I think, if I'm taking a guy like right now to play right now, I'd take Terry McLaurin. He was a second team All-Pro last season. If I'm taking a guy who's in the NFL right now, like for his whole career, I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. Just going back to what he did at Ohio State, I'm still a huge believer in his potential and think he will be one of the NFL's best wide receivers sooner than later. If I'm including Jeremiah Smith in the conversation and can take a guy for his whole career, I'm taking Jeremiah Smith. It sounds crazy because, if you include Emeka Egbuka, who I think is maybe already Tampa Bay Buccaneers' #1 wide receiver, Ohio State has 6 #1 receivers in the NFL. So it feels crazy to take a guy who's still a sophomore in college, but Jeremiah is special, man. I just think that he's going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL, probably from the time he gets to the NFL in 2 years. So I'm taking a guy for his whole career. I got to take Jeremiah.
It's not that crazy.
No, it's not. Because I was honestly about to say, if I have to take a guy for the rest of his career, I'm taking Jeremiah as well. I think this just the skill set, everything just translates to an immediate impact guy right away. Like, he's just the size, the hands, the speed. He's smart. He knows what to do. He's just special. And I think there's a lot of teams who are just already planning out how they can get the #1 pick in 2 years so they can get Jeremiah Smith. I think. But if I'm taking a guy who's there right now, I'm probably taking Emeka Egbuka. And so my wife's a huge Falcons fan. She's from Georgia, so we watched a lot of that game, and he broke her heart, although she loves Emeka. But you listen to them talk about Emeka, and they just talk about how much he knows every position, which, as we all know, he's been like that for his whole career at Ohio State. But his ability to know every position, be able to run routes at every spot. Just finds a way to get open. And I think he has a good setup there in Tampa. Like, they want to throw the ball a lot. He's got Mike Evans. He's going to have Chris Godwin. So he's not going to be a ton of pressure on him, at least for the first couple of years. I like the setup he's in. And I think he's in for a huge rookie year.
I would take Jeremiah. Yeah, like that. Jeremiah is my short answer, but I love Emeka Egbuka, and he was always in a position at Ohio State where he was number 2, whether it was with Marvin Harrison Jr. or last year with Jeremiah Smith. And now that he's in the NFL, not that he was underappreciated while he was at Ohio State, but I do think there's an opportunity for Emeka to even open some eyes to like just how good he is. And he does everything really well. I think he'll get involved as like a ball carrier because he has that skill set that we saw a little bit at Ohio State. And listen, like that guy ran like through the B gap against Michigan State and put a linebacker on his butt. Like he will have my sword forever, Emeka Egbuka, for doing what he did in that game. So he was one of my favorite guys to cover at Ohio State, and I can't wait to watch what he does in the NFL.
It is always one of the craziest, often silliest conversations about, hey, could this college team do blank against an NFL team? Right. Although when I was kind of doing Browns and Ohio State stuff, I still kind of think the 2015 Ohio State team probably would have beaten the Browns because they had like 14 NFL guys right that moment. Tomorrow, Cam, if Jeremiah Smith left Ohio State tomorrow and played on an NFL roster in 2 weeks, could he do it?
Yes, he could be wide receiver number 1 for the Cleveland Browns right now.
Okay.
Firmly believe that. I watched that team on Sunday. He'd be wide receiver number 1, but he wouldn't even have to practice. Just put him on the field and put a jersey on him.
Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, that feels like a thing they would have done like in the 20s, that Jeremiah Smith would play for Ohio State on Saturday, and then they'd give him like a fake name and drive him up to Cleveland.
Honestly.
And it'd be like Jethro Smithson would be like leading the Browns in receiving yards on Sunday, and then he'd just like come back down to Columbus for the next week and you'd be good to go. Dan, you used to do some draft stuff back in the day. Like, you don't want to be a crazy person, but what would you think of Jeremiah Smith, NFL receiver, like in 8 hours from now?
Yeah, I agree with Cam. I think he'd be a wide receiver 1 right now. I mean, the guy is just, he's got everything you look for at that position. He's so advanced. I mean, you even just look at other freshmen around college football. I mean, you think about some of the conversation that happened this past weekend with Bryce Underwood, and yeah, it's a different position, but it's like, best freshman in the history of college football, and he goes 9 of 24. I mean, freshmen are not supposed to come into college football and do the things Jeremiah Smith did last year, and I think he's only getting better. And so, yeah, I think he could go play in the NFL right now and be a, conservatively a top 30 receiver in the league.
Bill, before we leave, I want to ask you. So, this is just how it happens at Ohio State, but Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best player in college football when he was at Ohio State as a junior. Joel Klatt and other people were saying stuff like that. And now Jeremiah Smith has come in behind Marv. Marv did not set the NFL on fire last year. He had a fine rookie year, but he didn't go up there and have 1,500 receiving yards as a rookie. Does that tell us anything about that? It's grown men. There is a transition. Or even if that was true for Marv and quarterback play comes into play, does it not apply to Jeremiah Smith because he still is like a next level beyond that?
I think there's a lesson there, maybe. I don't know that I'd worry about Jeremiah going to the NFL and not hitting the ground running. But to your point, as high as he's going to be drafted, he's probably not going to have a tremendous quarterback, or at least have a young quarterback maybe. So you would have to take that into account. But I don't know. I think for some guys, for some reason, like that adjustment takes a little bit. And I think it did for Marv. If you look at other guys like, Justin Jefferson, for instance, like it didn't really take him time to adjust. He was kind of like a dude from the second he showed up. So I would bet on Jeremiah being a dude the second he shows up in the NFL in 2 years.
And worth mentioning, Brian Thomas Jr. as a rookie last year was 3rd in the league in receiving yards. So it certainly can be done.
It's going to be wild.
I think it's a thing of where you're at too, like, and what your setup is. Like, I mean, I'm just not sure people believe in Kyler as a quarterback sometimes. Like, I just don't feel like he just didn't see Marv sometimes. So it's like Bill said, if it's an early pick and he's at a place that doesn't have a quarterback, that's a little different than if he's at a place like like when at Cincinnati or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Cincinnati's going to get a third receiver, but somewhere with an established quarterback.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. Quarterback really matters. Last question. If you found an Ohio State playbook lying on the ground in the parking lot of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, what would you do with it? I think first of all, you would be like, they print this thing out? What is this? Why is there a book? It's a book? You stumble across it, whatever it is. It's a hard drive, or it's I don't know what they do. It's in the cloud. You somehow you get the password. Now that's actually stealing. Something that's not quite stealing, but you come across it. Ohio State playbook. Dan Hope, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, the politically correct answer would be to say that I would call Jerry Emig and immediately and let him know that I found this playbook and turn it in immediately. So Jerry, if you're listening, that's my answer. But I mean, in truth, like, am I gonna look through it? Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna look through it. I mean, I want to at least know what's in there. I'm not necessarily gonna go run and post everything on the internet, but I'm probably gonna look through it and see what's in there. I guess. But one thing I can say is I would not share the playbook with Connor Stallions.
He doesn't need it. He's got all the signs.
Right, exactly.
He would be on this. If we had invited him today, he would be on this show right now. He's doing all the media. I do not exactly. I mean, I guess putting the name in the headline like lets you like probably get you good ratings off that. But we should ask Landis. We should probably ask next week on the show. Adam King of 10 TV Sports and Connor Stallions join us on Around the Shoe. Is that where we want to go?
That's not where I want to go. So I don't.
Okay.
Having Connor Stallions on your show is great. Maybe like ask him a hard question while he's on there. Kiss his butt for cheating, like everyone else does. Yeah.
All right. So, Cam, what would you do?
Yeah, I'm like Dan. I like to think I turn it in, but I think for me, I think I'd look through it. I'm just so interested in everything Matt Patricia's doing. I'd look through it and then probably go to him and trade it for a copy of the Bill Belichick Bible, and then just keep that and go through all that. That's probably what I would do, because I'm like fascinated by some of the stuff he does. They've been doing on defense right now.
Yeah, that's good. I like the trade aspect.
Yeah,
it's like, who found this in the parking lot? Bill, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd probably just give it back. The thing about it is, like, I don't think any of us would know what we were looking at, right? Like,
that's true.
And I think a lot of people wouldn't know what they were looking at. Like, I know what every man thinks he can like work a barbecue grill and coach football. That's not actually true. And even me as someone like, we all like to watch the film and like dive into stuff and point out things that are interesting, but there is a limit to our knowledge of that. And if we got a playbook in our hands, we're going through it. Like 85% of it, I don't think we'd even understand. So what's the point of having it other than maybe knowing the name of some of the plays if they're funnier for some reason? So I would look through it for sure before I gave it back. I don't know how much I'd actually glean from it, but yeah, I don't think it'd be like some kind of like holy grail to have as you're covering the team, because honestly, as you're thumbing through it and like trying to compare it to what you're seeing on the television screen, I don't think you'd be able to put 2 and 2 together more often than not.
That ruins my answer, because my answer was give it to Landis and ask him to explain it to me. So
yeah, I'm not the guy.
Bill.
I'm not the guy. Yeah.
I would photocopy it to have it for myself and then give it back, because I would want it to inform everything I'm doing. But then also, I think I would give it back to Ohio State in a grandiose fashion and make myself look like a hero. So first I would keep the information for myself, and then I would be like, look at me, right? So I would be journalistic, and then I would be self-centered and egotistical in my approach to like, this is how honest that I am.
What a stretch.
Even though I wasn't being. So, but I mean, we know they wouldn't actually have it in a playbook. So, I mean, like, it's kind of a fantastical question, because it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like, oh, I'm going to be a media outlet that's going to like what? Like break into like their film stuff in a cloud and like watch practice film or something? Like it's so fantastical. Crazy. It's something that would never happen. So it's just like, it's a fun thought exercise here on Around the Shoe. Okay.
If you actually found it though, like free iPad, like that's not bad.
That is true.
Oh yeah,
that is true. Yeah.
Although they get you, you know what? My family like was doing something with the phones a year ago, and it was like, hey, take a free iPad, but then you had to pay for internet service on the free iPad. So like my iPad's in the closet costing me $12 a month on internet service. I'm not get Cam, you're nodding. They get you, man. They get you.
I had to clean that up like 2 years ago. My mom got a new phone and she came home with a tablet and an Apple Watch that she doesn't use, and they both are costing me like $40 extra on the bill. So I hear you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. You got to clean it up every now and then. Fantastic second edition of Around the Shoe. Dan Hope and Cameron Teague Robinson bringing it to the highest degree. Dan Hope, where can the folks find your work and what do you have popping in the coming weeks?
Yeah, 11warriors.com. That's ELEVEN warriors.com. On X at Dan_Hope. We're just, covering the team, as thoroughly as anybody, I think, lots of stuff. I don't know that I have one specific thing to promote, but just know that, we're going to have, lots of content coming throughout the season as we keep rolling along with football season here.
I think for the audience, it's more like if you happen to be at a thing that is even minimally associated with Ohio State football, look over your shoulder because Dan Hope is there as well. So like he is comprehensive. Cam, what you got going on over there at the Athletic?
Yeah, nothing specific right now. Working on a couple features, hopefully for the next couple weeks. I'm just really fascinated with Caleb Downs, so hoping to do a bigger piece on just the mind that is Caleb Downs here in the next couple weeks. And then you can find me on, we supposed to call it X now or Twitter? I still call it Twitter. So I'll do Twitter at CJ_Teague and then at the Athletic. We don't write as much as Dan, but we got a solid 4 or 5 days of content on the Athletics website too. So, but yeah, just trying to keep up with the beast that is Ohio State football.
And Landis, what are we doing?
We're doing some stuff. I don't know. Yeah. We'll figure it out. I wrote a rewatch. It was up on Monday on the Substack page. People can go check that out. Doug and what is it? Bill and Doug. I'm first. Bill and Doug OSU.substack.com.
Yeah, go find us over there. And we love dropping this stuff here on the YouTube channel. Around the Shoe, we'll do it every week because this is a great, robust, interesting beat serving Ohio State fans with great coverage in a lot of different ways. Cam, thanks for being here, man. It was great to have you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me for sure.
Mr. Hope, enjoyable. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's it for Around the Shoe. Next week, we'll be back again. The plan is to do it every Monday here on YouTube and in the podcast feeds for now. For Dan Hope, for Cam Teague Robinson, for Bill Landis, I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was Around the Shoe.